You know, we've been hearing a lot lately about Boise's police department. And by lately, I mean going back to last spring. That's when we learned a Boise police officer planned to sue the city after then Boise's police chief, Ryan Lee, allegedly broke that officer's neck during a team briefing in October of 2021. He was demonstrating a neck restraint technique, apparently. That incident supposedly happened in the fall of last year, but Chief Lee was not put on leave during the investigation, and a county prosecutor declined to press charges. But in April, that tort claim was filed. Then in September, KTVB's investigative reporter Alex Duggan learned of several other complaints filed against the chief, with Boise's Office of Police Accountability, whose director back in April recommended Chief Lee be placed on leave. Again, that didn't happen. But when those other complaints became public in September, well, Boise's mayor, Lauren McLean, then asked Chief Lee to resign. Then in November, we learned about a former Boise police captain, Matt Bringelson. He was secretly attending white nationalist conferences and spouting racist rhetoric online. Then last Friday, the mayor's office put out a 2-page press release saying the Office of Police Accountability, the director, Jara, has been placed on leave in response to, quote, ongoing concerns with professional judgment and lack of confidence in the actions of the office. We must have confidence in this office and trust the judgment of its director, said Mayor McLean and council leadership. This step is necessary to protect the interest of our police officers and the public. There was no mention of why he was being put on leave, citing personnel issues. So if you're thinking of the timing of this announcement is kind of curious, well, so are we. It was a discussion we wanted to have with our investigative reporter, Alex Duggan, who told us today the OPA director, Jara, filed a grievance with the city just prior to this forced leave.
So the statement that his attorney released that night on Friday says that he can't comment publicly on the nature of previously filed grievances. So that means that Jesus has filed a grievance with the city or whoever in some capacity, and he's alleging concerns of retaliation, violations of law, and breach of contract by the city of Boise. So there's nothing he can say about any previously filed grievances, but it says that he does have them. So it's interesting to note that according to this, he filed a grievance, and then now he's on leave.
But this also kind of has a background to the Chief Lee investigation, right? Because that was Jesus's job to look into this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the biggest thing to come out of the Office of Police Accountability, besides, big critical incidents like officer-involved shootings. This was a big deal because, his memo where he recommended the chief go on leave while someone investigates these complaints that BPD employees made against the chief, he recommended he go on leave in April. That never happened.
The mayor never put the chief on leave.
The mayor never put the chief on leave because she said that this third-party investigation found that there was no cause to place him on leave.
Even though the director said, here's the complaints and here's why you should put him on leave?
Yes. But then in September, when all of this became public, that's when the mayor decided to ask him to resign.
The chief? The
chief of police, Ryan Lee. After that, there was kind of just the snowball into what were the complaints. We don't know anything about this. There was a lot of things that we just couldn't figure out because all of it was classified as personnel. And, the OPA hasn't been able to speak about it either. Mayor McLean told us in an interview and told the Idaho Statesman as well in an interview that the OPA was out of scope and unauthorized to recommend the chief go on leave and kind of, recommend these things to the mayor.
But was he out of scope?
Well, I mean, the ordinance that they came up with, the city came up with when they were readjusting the office, when Jesus actually started his job in the summer of 2021, was the Office of Police Accountability can develop specific recommendations as to the policies, procedures, practices of BPD officers and the employees. The director may make recommendations to the chief of police, the mayor, or city council as appropriate. Well, he did that like he does with every complaint he investigates, anything like that. And the mayor said he was kind of unauthorized in this way to do so. And it is, unique because normally we wouldn't see BPD officers complaining to the Office of Police Accountability. It's usually for officer-involved shootings and citizen complaints.
Sure.
So it's really, really unique. Well, we know that these officers and other employees that made the complaints didn't want to go to the Internal Affairs Office because Chief Lee oversaw internal affairs, so they thought that that was a conflict of interest. And they also alleged that HR didn't want to investigate this either, so then they didn't have anywhere else to go, so they went to the Office of Police Accountability, who thought that maybe this office can hold the chief accountable.
I assume you've reached out to the city to find out more information about this. They have been basically saying we can't say anything?
So I actually haven't gotten really a response from the city yet. What they did tell me was, hey, this is personnel. We can't speak about this. They also can't speak about pending litigation. They can't speak. And we know that we don't know the nature of Jesus' personal grievances, but this could definitely snowball into something bigger.
So we're not done hearing about Boise Police Department and the mayor and the Office of Accountability?
No.
See, like I said, a lot of layers there. And obviously a lot of questions still left unanswered to which the city can claim, well, personnel issues. One of those is whether the chief of police should be overseeing the Internal Affairs Division in the first place. Alex mentioned the cost of these investigations, the one into former Chief Ryan Lee and the one into former Captain Matt Bringleson. The city spent $25,000 looking into claims against Chief Lee, and they plan to spend about $500,000 into whether Bringleson's white nationalist and racist views go further than himself or if it impacted any calls he may have been a part of. So big discrepancy there. As Alex said, this won't be the last time we hear about BPD and how it's being handled by the mayor. So